Hello, and welcome to STEAM of Consciousness, a program presented by the ARI Podcasting Network and hosted by George Koperna. What is STEAM? STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Mathematics. During each episode, we will take a few minutes to sit down with professionals in different STEAM-related fields to give them an opportunity to share their story and give their perspectives with the goal of promoting career awareness to potentially interested students, young professionals, and of course, anyone else who shares a fascination with these areas of study. And now, please join us as we tap into the STEAM of consciousness.
Welcome to STEAM of Consciousness, a podcast on the ARI Podcasting Network. And today, we're very pleased to have our own Matt Wallace join us. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, George. How are you?
So, Matt, you're a project manager at Advanced Resources International. What does a project manager do?
Well, the easy answer is I manage projects, but there's a lot that goes into it. We have a lot of different work areas at ARI, and I've been involved in a lot through my time with the company, and it really means kind of being as agile and collaborative as possible to make sure that work is getting done on time and we're meeting client demands and also not spending too much budget or spending the budget that we have that we need to spend. So it's really being pretty open with all levels of staff at ARI, from management to analysts, and making sure that work gets done up to our standards and on time.
And you talk about work, and what type of work do you work on?
Good question. It has varied a lot over my almost 15 years at ARI, but it involves everything from data analysis, working with reservoir data for oil and gas reservoirs, to research topics on different energy related topics like carbon capture and storage, carbon utilization. My kind of personal favorite, my wheelhouse, is CO2 enhanced oil recovery. So lots of different topics.
So you have a degree in environmental sciences or studies from Washington University. Did you ever imagine that you'd take that and be doing enhanced oil recovery and CO2 applications?
George, I didn't know anything about reservoir engineering, enhanced oil recovery, anything like that during my time at Washington and Lee, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But it even coming into ARI, Washington and Lee is maybe a non-traditional engineering route to take. It's a liberal arts institution, but WNL really, I think, sets people up for learning how to learn and learning fundamentals and how to enter the workplace and be a good kind of team player. So short answer, no, I had no idea that I would be where I am today when I entered college or even left college. So
and let's talk a little bit about college. And when you were in high school, were you immediately attracted? You knew you wanted to be in environmental studies, or what was your inciting incident or event that kind of said, hey, this is what I think I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah, great question. In high school, I was very STEAM oriented. I did the governor's school in Virginia, which was science and math, and also included I think probably my favorite class, which was project design engineering. It was an elective that I took actually a couple of years. And I think through that kind of course of study, I saw the application of science and technology in the real world, and I knew I wanted to be involved in that area. I wasn't going to be a history professor or traditional business world didn't really get me excited, but I always loved outdoors. I loved fishing. I loved interaction with nature, and so it's probably kind of ideal situation, but I wanted to find that intersection of kind of science and math and the environment. So that was really, I didn't have much more than that going into college, but that's kind of where I thought my studies might take me.
Now, we already said where you'd end up, but I think I find it really interesting that, some folks know I only want to go to this school, and they don't cast a wider net. Many cast a wider net and end up at the school that they always thought that they'd end up at, and others just, it's variable. And so you grew up in Roanoke, and not too far away is a very fine liberal arts school, Washington Lee. You ended up there, but I mean, did you look elsewhere? I mean,
I did,
Virginia
yeah.
Tech's not that far away either.
Sure, yeah. I looked mainly in Virginia, UVA, mostly other state schools. Uh, I did play soccer in high school and wanted to continue that in college somehow. And so I looked at a few other schools, Davidson, Lehigh, mostly um, Eastern colleges. In all honesty, I didn't want to be too far away from kind of my outdoor playground. I wanted to be able to fish and get outside and um, be able to enjoy that part of life in addition to studies. So that's kind of what led me to ultimately to Lexington, Virginia. But I did look elsewhere a little bit.
And were you able to pair athletics with academics there?
I was fortunate to do that. We're Division III school, so my limited soccer ability was able to translate to college, and I played 4 years, and it was a great balance between um, academics and athletics. It really forced me to um, get the studying done before practice and balance games with tests and studying and having fun. So yeah, I was fortunate to be able to do that for 4 years.
And and so choosing a smaller school versus a larger school, you mentioned UVA, I mentioned Virginia Tech. I mean, it's a very different feel. It's a very,
Mhm.
small town versus big city kind of aspects. When did you know you were at the right spot? Did it take long? Um, was Everybody has that adjustment period when you go from high school to college, but when did you know?
Yeah, I think I knew right away. I did like the smaller aspect of the school and being a little more intimate and um, knowing people on the street when you see them from time to time. And I think um, the group of guys that arrived early for the fall soccer season, I'm still great friends with most of them today, and just um, kind of getting thrown into, all right, we're actually at college, we're on our own, we're figuring it out, and um, that experience is really special and formative, and just the fun that we had during preseason before even the other students got there. I think it just felt right, and I was lucky. So
Yeah, and that's a good point to make because we talk so much on this show about building your professional network and having people you can bounce things off, but your interpersonal networks equally important, particularly even though you weren't that far away from home, you're at a new
Mhm.
place, and you need those folks to be able to bounce things off and land softly.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I really didn't. I was close to home, but I didn't come home at all. Probably Thanksgiving was the first time I came back that fall semester, and just forging those friendships and um, being open with everyone about struggles and classes that you're having a hard time with or doing well in, and that really it's like I said, it's formative and really important to develop that network early on, and relying on others. It's it's a good thing to do.
So, in addition to your academics and athletics, you also had an opportunity to study abroad. What attracted you to that program?
Yeah. So the spring of my junior year, I studied abroad at St. Andrews in Scotland. My mom actually grew up going over there from time to time, and she spent a year there in college herself. So I knew that it was a great place, and my last name's Wallace, and no relation that I know of to the Wallace of Braveheart, but there was some affinity for Scotland in my family, and so I was pleased to go and have the opportunity. And WNL did have an exchange with St. Andrews, so it was relatively easy to get over there. So um, I the main exchange that they do is with the pre-med group, and they do that in the fall. So I was kind of on my own when I went in spring, and kind of showed up and didn't know anyone else, and said, all right, well, there's a group of folks over there. Let's go say hi and start this process of kind of making friends again. So, but I loved it. It was a fantastic experience.
And that was only a semester.
Yeah, just a semester. I wish it had been a year, but had a lot to do, so limited time to do it.
So you've gone through your exchange program. You're in your senior year, and I think you're at a what we'll call a select choice position. Do we go to consider graduate school? Do we consider moving out and getting a full time job somewhere? Where was your headspace at the time?
Yeah, I can offer maybe some perspective that I know on a lot of our podcasts, we talk a lot about our successes, and I'll be a little bit vulnerable and say that I kind of limped over the finish line my senior year. My I was an environmental studies major. I created the major on my own. It was not offered by W&L, but I knew that's kind of the area that I wanted to study. And so in that, I had two different advisors that didn't really talk to each other. And going abroad, I had some credit translation issues that all of this kind of came ahead in senior year. And so, I had to kind of pull some things together, and ended up having to take a language in over the summer to finish my credits for graduation. So, um, it was a little bit difficult, and I, maybe didn't enjoy the very end of my senior year as much as some people did. But in terms of headspace, I had a job lined up in environmental consulting after my senior year, and they were fine with my credit hour I needed over the summer, and was ready to go. So in the fall after graduation. So um, so I was a little bit distracted, but it really helped me kind of focus at the end, and say, all right, we're getting ready for real life here, and these are the hiccups that happen. Not everything is nice and easy, and sometimes you kind of have to fight through things a little bit. So yeah, entering the workforce was kind of the main objective. I hadn't really considered grad school right out of the bat, out of the gate. Um, I said, let's work a few years and see what happens. So
And so you took a job, and that job was not with ARI. That was with
correct. Yeah.
another firm. And so
Yeah.
you're doing your environmental consulting. And what was that? I mean, did you feel you were leveraging what you wanted to do, and what you'd learned?
Yeah. Good question. I didn't know when I started that job. I knew that I was heading into environmental consulting. I still didn't have a great idea exactly what that was going to be day to day. And so I said, well, let's figure it out. Let's see how much we can make out of it. And it was environmental management consulting. So, implementation of programs for EPA, DOE, doing a lot of varied kind of from auditing to program assessment, things like that. I think it was a little bit hands off from what I really wanted to do in terms of, um, just kind of running through the paces for government departments and programs they already had established and didn't really need a whole lot of technical expertise on it. It's more just kind of implementation. So, but I took a few years to try it out and see how I liked it, and ultimately it wasn't exactly what I wanted to be doing.
And when you just made that decision, I mean, it's all right, do I change positions, go to another firm? Did you consider graduate school at that point in time, or you just knew that you were in industry now and you wanted to stay in industry?
Yeah, I think it was valuable to kind of have that period of struggle and trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do because I didn't have a great idea. Grad school's it is a big investment, and I didn't have that direct path that I knew was what I wanted to do. That this is an easy decision to make this 50, 100 grand investment, and I'm going to find the right job that I need to make back my investment and be on my career path. So it wasn't the exact thing that I had considered, but fortunately the ARI position came up, and that's the direction I chose. So
Well, I think it's always interesting to me. We talk about, your college major choice could be very few people are like you decide you want to do something and then go do it. It's a more meandering process through. I might want to enter as a engineer and end up doing chemistry or geology or something else. Whereas the same can be said for entering industry. That first job may not be exactly what you thought it was, or not exactly what you thought you were going to be doing. Or maybe it is, and you just decide you don't enjoy that. And
yeah,
so, I won't ask loaded questions about the company you're still with, which happens to be our company. Um, but I think, one of the aspects that's interesting about consulting is, sure, during a project it's similar day to day, but it's
Mhm.
variable year to year, from project to project. And over the years, have you grown to appreciate that, or has it been, boy, I really liked doing A for project B, but we don't do that right now.
Right. Yeah, no, great question. I'll say for my transition from my first job to ARI, what attracted me to ARI was the hands-on nature of the company, and relatively small. We're not a Booz Allen that we have thousands of employees that just get put on different projects, but you're working directly with clients, you're working with data, you're working to find solutions. And I think I very much appreciate while you say our our core topics have changed over 10, 15 years, the process of the work is relatively similar. And um, having a discrete problem to solve for a client, and that process of doing the research, doing the data analysis, interpretation, it's a great uh, way to work, and it's great work to do. So um, I've really found the value in that and in what we've done since I've been with ARI.
Well, I think during this time at ARI, you also had a little bit of a itch to scratch on the entrepreneurial side. And what possessed you? And I'll use that term directly. And you and I
Yeah.
joke about this often, but to decide to start your own little company.
Yeah. Great question. I think back to my high school days and the elective that I had, it was project design engineering, and it was a school supported uh, 2 months of you have free reign to design whatever product you want for the market, for any market. And so my group, we designed a golf ball teeing device that we thought could be marketed to golf is a huge industry, and um, it really showed me that this is a part of our economy, and a part of thinking that you can take a crazy idea and make a product out of it. And so I was kind of taught that entrepreneurial drive in high school, and saw that maybe it's not so crazy. So um, for the last few years, well, I guess about 10 years ago at this point, my wife and I started our own small business called Chups, and it's a specialty condiment business. And the idea is that we make different kinds of ketchups that do not use tomato. We use like cherries and mango and pineapple, and blend them with garlic and onions and savory spices and vinegar, and create what is essentially a ketchup. And it was a long process. We thought we were crazy many, many times. We still do. But it was an idea that we thought would be fun to do, and valuable, something different. Um, and at the time, we didn't have kids, and we had enough spare time that we could, end our day jobs and go work in the kitchen, and develop kind of marketing strategies and social media presence, and a physical product that was really satisfying to do for quite a while. And yeah, it was pretty non-traditional, but really satisfying, and kind of exercise that creative part of the brain that maybe doesn't get exercised doing technical data analysis during the day. So yeah.
Well, I find the interesting intersection of these two things, setting aside the topic of you and I discussing ketchup ad nauseum, but what did you learn from that entrepreneurial activity and ARI, your time here as a consultant, and the intersection? How does one help the other?
Yeah. I think in both, especially with the entrepreneurial and doing Chups, you learn how to fail, because you fail often, and you'll burn a batch, or something will go wrong with product delivery, or any thousands of things that go wrong, and you learn that life is not a series of successes with occasional failure. I mean, life is failure. It's learning how to deal with it appropriately, and navigate and work with it. You can't be afraid of failure. You have to embrace it, and you have to ride it. You have to ride the wave to your next success. And so yeah, I think that and time management too. Doing the entrepreneurial thing at night, making sure I wasn't going to be too tired to wake up and go to work the next day. That intersection of ARI and Chops was really great. I mean, it was I learned so much from it.
Well, that's fantastic. And when you start to talk about two parallel tracks of effort, it makes me tired thinking about it. But and you mentioned you started this all when you had no kids. How many kids do you have
Yeah.
now?
Well, we have two boys now. Harrison's 7 years old in second grade, and Colvin's 4 in his last preschool year. Be in kindergarten next year. So, um, Chups was our baby before we had babies, and we're not doing Chups day to day like we had been, but we were smart. We never took outside investment, and we never bit off more than we could chew. Uh, so it is there to kind of bring back, and I would love for us to kind of make it a family business at some point, and kind of expand and give the boys an opportunity to work in it as well. So keep saying it, but one of these days we'll get back in the kitchen. So
Well, back to ARI, and I think that's valuable to learn from one thing and translate it to another. But when you start to think about your day to day here, if you've matured through the ranks here, and you're now a project manager, you've gotten a lot more face time with clients. And how has that transition been to now being behind the microphone, behind the podium, giving talks, preparing reports that hundreds of people are in the audience watching and listening? Um, what kind of advice and learning might you have from that to pass along to others?
yeah, I really love this aspect of our company and what we do, and we encourage folks at all levels to go give talks and visit conferences and FaceTime with attendees, and I think it's an opportunity to develop uh, develop your stance, develop your work and your talking points and what you want to convey to a wider audience, and be able to go up on a podium and present your slides, and really take ownership of your work. Um, you know, Ultimately it's you and the audience up there, and there's no one else for you to really hide behind. And so it kind of forces you to really do the work and understand what it is that you're talking about, and provide a valuable perspective on something that you're passionate about. So yeah, I've really loved getting to do the talks and having more FaceTime with clients, and really taking ownership of our material and the work that we do at ARI.
And so looking back, and through your career and the journey that you've had, you kind of talked about what you loved about your job already a couple different times in a couple different ways. So let's pivot this kind of final question to, if you were to give either younger you or a younger person some advice as they're starting their, maybe a rising senior in high school or a senior in high school, ready to think about college, or even maybe professional ranks in related industries, what
Mhm.
what might you pass along?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think this is probably um, what I would want anyone in college or looking at college to really take away, is that you're not expected to know everything from day one, but the best thing you can do is to ask questions, um, and work on the things that you don't know. Work with your professors, ask questions, and develop a deep understanding of things that you don't know. It's really valuable to be vulnerable. It can be it can feel awkward or uncomfortable to ask a question many times, especially if it's a topic that you don't understand. But that's so important. And working with your professors, they're there for you to help you understand the material, and putting that time into to learn and to ask the questions that you need to ask is that's what I would want myself to do more in college, if I could build that time machine and go back. So
That's really good advice. And I thank you, Matt, for your time today.
Thanks, George. This has been a lot of fun.
This has been a presentation of the ARI Podcasting Network. I'd like to thank Ryan Kessler for producing this podcast. And again, Matt Wallace for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to listen to new episodes of Stream of Consciousness available on your preferred podcast listening station.